Wow. Okay. Episode 3, Season 3, The Shy. This episode was entitled Bust Down. If you have not had the opportunity to go ahead and watch episode 3 in its entirety, please put this video on pause so that you can get caught up. And come on back. I'd like to have a really important conversation. There was a lot of moving parts in this episode, but some really, really heavy topics that hit really close to home. I like to talk about it. See you in a few minutes. Whew, it's a lot, right? So I hope you guys had the opportunity to watch episode 3 of The Shy. Episode 3 title is Bust Down. So many topics and so much going on in this episode. I wanted my channel to be just a small glimpse of my life, and I wanted it to be lively, upbeat, goofy, everything that I am. So I really struggled with even doing a video on this episode because there were so many topics that were covered that hit close to home with me. And I was just like, God, I'm not comfortable with being that comfortable with my life. But if I want this to be authentic in nature, and if I can help anybody just by sharing a glimpse of who I am, then that's what I'm here to do. This episode, like I said, covered a lot. I'm probably going to end up dividing the whole review into two different parts. This part one is going to be a whole lot of serious dialogue and conversation that really needs to be had within our communities of color, dealing with various issues, specifically those of human trafficking. So we see in this episode that we're still trying to find Keisha. We're still trying to find any type of clues that will lead us back to her. In the midst of everything that's going on, Keisha's mother and Dre are kind of at a pivotal point in their relationship. They're newlyweds, but they can't really focus on their relationship because there is this big cloud of darkness hanging around their household, and it's impacted everybody, not only in their household but within their community. One particular scene is of Dre and Keisha's mother having a dialogue. She kind of spoke out of turn by saying that Dre is not her mother. And even though she isn't her mother, Dre feels like she's connected to Keisha and Kevin as a parent. And you hear Dre say, I knew this day was coming, and they begin to have a dialogue. Key thing for me is that Dre quoted her by saying, the mother is a glutton for punishment. So Keisha's mother chose to attend a meeting from this support group that is spearheaded by Tracy. It's called Rock, Remembering Our Chicago Children or Kids, I'm sorry. And they attend this meeting and it doesn't go well at all. So Dre is kind of like, I told you so, and Keisha's mother is in a position where she's trying to cross all T's and dot all I's. So nothing is off the table in terms of finding Keisha. So if it means I need to attend a meeting that ends up being a waste of my time, I won't know it's going to be a waste of my time unless I go. So here goes. So Dre is telling her, you do things that you know is going to end up hurting you. While I understand what Dre is saying, I also very much sympathize with Keisha's mother. Keisha's mother is in a position where she has to find her child by any means necessary. So again, if that means attending a meeting or if that means seeing Facebook or a social media post that may not be pleasant to see with her child on it, that's what she's going to do. When a mother is put in that position, you can't tell her what's off limits, because at that point, nothing's off limits. The only thing that we're concerned about is finding our daughter. I've been in that situation. And this episode was so real. It's almost even hard to believe that it's a series, that it's a fictional series, but it really does a good job with connecting realistic moments that we all have within our community. Um, so the part that was really hard to watch is two parts. Well, I'll start with this one. So, in that same scene where Dre and Keisha's mother is having that uncomfortable conversation, Keisha's mother asks the question, the golden question: what do you think? Am I a good mother? There was a little reluctancy. Then Dre responds by saying, I think you're doing the best that you can, right? Or all that you can, or something to that degree. As a mother, we've heard that before, right? I've heard that before. And it's kind of one of those things where it's like gray in the middle. I'm not saying you're a bad mother, but I'm not saying you're a perfect mother either. You're kind of just like in the middle. So then in your mind, you replay back every decision you made, every choice that you made, and you kind of say, well, how are you the person that can tell me? I don't know about you, but when I had my children, they didn't come with instructions, right? So we're all just doing either what we've learned, what we've seen, or what life just kind of throws at you. We don't have all the answers. We may appear to be strong black women, and we are, but even strong black women have doubts. We have downfalls and shortcomings. And who is anybody safe to say that we can't have an error or a miscalculation of judgment? So I felt that scene really deep in my soul. Um, as a mother, I felt like working hard at a job, giving all I can to a job, equal to taking care of my children. So I was so busy taking care of my children that I didn't take care of my children, if that makes sense. And I want you to understand and hear what I'm saying. You can work 16 jobs, you can make six figures a year, but if you're not involved in your children's life on a day-to-day basis and connect with them, and they don't know that if they're going through something that they can come to you, there is no job, no amount of money that can replace a mother's presence in her daughter's life. And if I could redo 21 years of parenting, I would redo it. And I would redo it so different than I did for the last 21 years. We want to give our children more than what we had, and we want to do everything in our power. Now, on this series, we find out that Keisha's father passed away, right? That didn't happen in our situation. While he did pass away, he was not there. So you're having to do both roles. And not only are you doing both jobs, you're being judged for your performance on both jobs. You're being judged by other people and you're being judged by your own child. But the difference is other people don't have that right to speak on it or to judge you. Your child does because it's their life. They didn't ask to be here. They're here now. And so their experiences and the things that they deal with matter and they're important. They're more important than any job, any relationship, anything in your life. Your children need you. They need your presence. I know what that feels like to go to bed and not know where your child is. I know what that feels like. That's not a good feeling. You think so many different thoughts, but your first thought is failure. In this episode, they say that you're supposed to protect your children, and you are. And when you can't, you feel like the world's biggest failure. I don't wish that pain on anybody. Now, today, our relationship is good. We're so blessed, but it has not always been like that. Also, in this episode, you see in the meeting that they attend at the Rock, it didn't go well at all. And Tracy was kind of put in the middle of it because the other mothers were judging Keisha's mother based on Keisha's behavior. And again, just like I stated before, when Keisha's mother was at the school looking for her, when your child walks out of your door, you cannot control anything that happens after that. As much as you want to, you cannot. So you have to equip them with the tools that they need to enter into this world. Keisha being promiscuous is not her fault. It's nobody's fault. Like they stated, we've all been there. We've all done that. We've all skipped school. We've all had the school call our parents. We've all been crazy in love behind some boy, doing things way before our time. We've all done it. And I like the fact that they mentioned a white teenager can do the same thing and have a totally different outcome. She has the support of everybody in the United States. We'll all get an Amber Alert. We'll all get a text message or email. There'll be a press conference, several press conferences. We'll see it on the news. Joan Benet Ramsey went missing, I don't know for how long. It's still a mystery to this day, but I'll never forget seeing her face every single day. The other young lady, I think her name was Natalie, went missing. Senior, graduated high school, went on a trip to Cancun with her friends and went missing. Our children, if you can even afford to go on a senior trip out of the U.S., you did good, right? Then, if you become missing, it's, oh, she was fast. Oh, it was some boys there. Oh, look at her social media page. Why are we punishing them for doing what teenage girls do? Truth be told, if social media was hot and heavy back in the day, a lot of us wouldn't have jobs today. A lot of us wouldn't have some friends that we have. A lot of us probably wouldn't even be able to go to the same church that we go to today if social media was out in the 90s, in the 80s, or whenever. Right? Honestly. Because there would have been video, pictures, or whatever surface of the things that we've done. Then we see Luke James's character, which I found out his name is either Trick or Trig. I couldn't really hear. I was really caught up in this episode. Him and Imani, they go to the trap house to confront Nuck. Try to find if Keisha is there so that they can report back to Jake and Kev. In this trap house, you see a lot of things. But the main thing you see is women, young girls, drugged up, and performing sexual acts that they can't consent to because they're intoxicated. When you think of human trafficking, 9 times out of 10, the first thing that comes to your mind is a picture of maybe an Asian girl, really young Asian girl, or a really young Latina girl that don't know English and that is being delivered to these different places within the US. But I'm here to tell you that while that is a form of human trafficking and that is one instance, there's also some human trafficking that happens local. Mhm. Within your city, no matter where you are in the U.S., there's a woman of color or a young girl of color who's doing something that she can't consent to, whether it's her age prohibiting her to consent to or her being intoxicated, excuse me, preventing her from being able to consent. And you have these trap houses through every city in this nation. This goes on every single day. And because the child is able to come back home, because the child is able to come home, you turn a blind eye to it. Or because the child is promiscuous and has a social media page showing her behaving provocatively, you turn a blind eye to it. But that child is someone's daughter that may or may not know where she is. If you're a young woman watching this video or a young girl watching this video and you have a mother that cares about you, give her, right? Give her enough respect and give her a chance to know what you're going through. Give her the opportunity to respond. Don't judge her for something that you don't know if she knows or not. The only way that you know 100% that she knows is by it coming from your mouth. We are mothers, right? We're mothers, but we're humans first, meaning we're not exempt from making mistakes. Give us the opportunity to know. Don't assume that because we gave birth to you, we know what you're going through. This age and generation is totally different than the one that we came from. While there's similarities, there's also some major differences. And just because we may have survived a lot of things does not mean that we know everything. Seeing that scenario depicted on this episode was hard, very hard. As a mother, you want to be there. You want to protect your children from the dangers seen and unseen, but there's only so much that you can do. So you have to know that the teachings, the Word of God, if you're a believer, that you've instilled in your children is enough to sustain them. Their world is cruel. This world was not built with them in mind. If you're a believer, you know that we're in this world, but we're not of it. Which means that it was not created in our image. It wasn't created with us in mind, with little black girls in mind. So every time you walk out the front door, it's something there waiting to get a hold to you. You have people within your community that will do just like this man. So at the end of the episode, we see a white guy that Ronnie either knows or he's familiar with him and it's not in a good way. We won't know how that plays out until later on in the season. But at the end, we see them at the visual, and here's this white guy. In a crowd of nothing but people of color, here's one guy. And if there's others, I just didn't see him. I focused on him. Right? You see Ronnie go after him with force. That's what happens. That's real. The person that you're doing the hardest to protect your child from, you might as well stop. I'm telling you that right now, parents. As a parent, I'm like, I'm protecting you from the little pedophile on the computer. I'm protecting you from the little nasty pervert that lives in the neighborhood. I'm protecting you from the little dirty man that works at your school that nobody knows about. I didn't need to protect them from them. While that's good to say, if anybody touches you, if anybody looks at you, if anybody approaches you, you let me know. A stranger danger. That's what we teach. And while that's good, and don't stop doing that, also be mindful of the people that you didn't specify. Those uncles, those step parents, those play cousins, those women. Women do it too. Anybody that looks at you, anybody that approaches you, anybody that talks to you inappropriately, you let me know. That's what your new narrative should be. Anybody. I don't care who it is. I tried to protect my children from strangers, but strangers didn't hurt my children. Strangers didn't hurt my daughter. I want to end this video by saying it does get better, right? If this is you, if you've been hurt, if you've been let down, if you've been abused, it gets better. If you're a mother out there that's second guessing yourself, what did I do? Where did I go wrong? Know that it gets better. We're still a work in progress, she and I. Oh, but I thank God every day that we are no longer where we used to be. I thank God every day that I get to talk to her, because I'm very aware that there are some mothers that will never get to have these conversations with their daughter again. I know that there's a mother who's probably older now. Maybe your daughter is an adult, and you'll never know what she went through and she tried to protect you from. Maybe your daughter's going to carry that secret to her grave. But I'm here to tell you that it gets better. Have those conversations. Admit your faults. Your children want to know that. Your children want to know that you're imperfect, that you make mistakes too. My girls know that I had their sister at 16. Well, 17. I gave birth to her 17 years of age. They know that, right? But that whole relationship, do they know about that relationship? The choices that you make affect your children. And I'm saying good choices, choices that you think, oh, there's nothing wrong with taking this job. There's nothing wrong with being in this relationship, wanting to get married. There's nothing wrong with moving to this city. It's better, whatever it may be. You're thinking that the choice is innocent, right? But you don't know the hidden things. We're not going to know that. That's why we rely on our faith. We rely on those conversations and that relationship with our Creator, who tells us, you know what? I know you really want that job, but I have something different for you, because He already knows the future. Me not listening to my Creator cost me tremendously. And if it was money, I'd rather it be money than what it really was. Because money you could earn again. You could get back in another way. I could get another job and replace the money. But I can't replace my relationship with my daughter. I can't. Thank you guys so much for watching this video. Um, Again, I'm not sorry that it's not funny. I'm not sorry that it's not the video that you thought. You know why? Because someone needed to see this. Some mother, some daughter, whomever needed to hear this. My truth. Like I said, it does get better, but just take your time. Don't be in a rush. Have patience, have faith, and trust the process. I hope you guys will tune in for more videos and also tune in for part 2, which I promise I won't cry. And I'll continue to discuss all the events that took place and then stood out on episode 3. Until then,